Do you remember when you and I were going through the book of Matthew together? And it's okay if you didn't do that series with me, this is still going to make sense. But for those of you who did, do you remember when the religious leaders went to Pontius Pilate after Jesus had been crucified and they were like, hey, the disciples, they are up to something. They're going to steal the body. They're going to ruin our narrative. We have a narrative here. You got to protect our narrative. You got to put the Roman guards over there. We want Roman guards, real ones, to watch the whole thing so they can report whatever crazy thing goes on. And then the joke is on them because what the guards end up having to report is that Jesus was risen from the dead, just as he said. And as a result of that, the religious leaders have to be like, okay, don't report that. Go with lying instead. And the whole thing colossally backfires on them. Well, likewise, we're running into a colossal backfire situation here of a similar feel. And like the situation with the religious leaders and the guards at the tomb, this is totally unnecessary and completely self-inflicted on the part of Xerxes. Here's what's going on. Vashti, she's not going to come and appear before Xerxes' drunken buddies at their 7-day drinking party at the end of their other 180-day party. And Xerxes is having none of it. This is the maddest he has ever been. Get me my father's 7 co-conspirators, sons and grandsons. We are going to get together to have a meeting about doing things the honorable way. And so he brings them all in and they're chit-chatting about stuff. And this is what goes on at the secret meeting within a meeting of the 7 highest nobles of the land and the King of Kings, the great king, the king of water and earth, King Xerxes. Xerxes says in Esther 1:15, according to the law, what must be done to Queen Vashti? Xerxes asked. She's not obeyed the command of King Xerxes that the eunuchs have taken to her. Then Memucan, again, this is one of those 7 highest ranking nobles who we learned last time around or the time before, have unlimited access to the king. Nobody else gets that, but presumably as an ongoing hereditary reward for participating in Xerxes' father Darius's scheme to take the throne, these guys get unlimited access, and that access theme is a very big theme in this book. More on that to come. So Xerxes got that question hanging out there. Here we go again with verse 16. Then Memucan replied in the presence of the king and the nobles, Queen Vashti has done wrong, not only against the king, but also against all the nobles and the peoples of all the provinces of King Xerxes. For the queen's conduct will become known to all the women, so they will all despise their husbands and say, King Xerxes commanded Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she wouldn't come. This very day, the Persian and Median women of the nobility who have heard about the queen's conduct will respond to all the king's nobles in the same way. There'll be no end of disrespect and discord. So apparently this Memucan guy is having some trouble at home, and he is seeing a whole lot of this fancy, new, uppity disrespect thing from the ladies in a lot of places, and frankly, in some of the households where this kind of thing should not be happening, including his own. And so his concern is that this isn't just a singular incident that needs to be dealt with in the royal family. This needs to be exemplary for the entire empire, or else we're going to have some kind of feminist revolution where the women just simply refuse to perform provocatively for all of their husbands' drunken buddies whenever they are told to do so. I say again, on this point, given what I am seeing in this text, I am Team Vashti here. Well, Memucan takes this thing absolutely nuclear. And look, at its core, wanting household stability, sure, I get it. Wanting there to be some kind of earned mutual respect between husband and wife, wanting some kind of arrangement between husband and wife that is reflective of the beautiful language that Paul uses in the book of Ephesians about how the husband is like Christ in that marriage, willing to lay down his life for the bride, but also, I mean, in so many words, the bride is also like Christ, laying herself down for the husband, and there's this mutual submission, and it really is just gorgeous, wildly progressive for its time language about what a beautiful God-honoring marriage would look like that we get from Paul up there. So look, if you frame this a little bit differently, if the circumstances are a little bit different, then maybe I could kind of see what Memucan is trying to say. Like, well, we don't want marital chaos across the empire. I just think he looks like a clown because of how we got to this point and how quick he is to escalate this one incident that is kind of embarrassing and kind of private and thankfully didn't happen in front of that many people. But Memucan is like, the king, you got embarrassed. What should we do about this embarrassment? Well, we should tell everyone. Wait, what? No, you should probably go small with that. He was made a mockery of in front of everybody. You should find some way to discreetly write it off to, well, we've all been drinking. And the Lady Queen has had a bit to drink as well, and so have I. Maybe we all got a little bit hasty there. I don't think me barking out something over drinks totally counts as a command from the throne. Let's just enjoy our beverages, and maybe we'll be able to catch up with Queen Vashti a little bit later. A nice touch like that. You have a laugh about the thing. You make it clear that wasn't a command and it didn't count. You just move on, and you hope people forget, and you don't bring it up again. But now his best buddy, the dude who's descended from one of the guys who helped his dad off the king so that he could establish this new dynasty, he's supposed to be loyal. He's supposed to be helpful. He comes along. He's like, no, we should tell everybody. This is going to spread like wildfire and become a problem through the whole empire if anybody finds out what happens. Let's tell everybody about it. What? How much booze are they drinking over there? Whatever the case, this guy goes on, verse 19. Therefore, if it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree and let it be written in the laws of Persia and Media, which cannot be repealed, that Vashti is never again to enter the presence of King Xerxes. Whoa, again. This wasn't a royal decree before. This was a drunk husband barking out stupid ideas while he's hanging out with his buddies. There's a discreet way out of this thing that I just outlined a second ago, but now you got Memucan, who is also intoxicated, but is now clearly projecting whatever issues he has in his own household onto this situation, saying that we need to escalate this, not de-escalate it, escalate it to the level of irrevocable royal decree. Now, we talked quite a bit the other day about how this irrevocability of the royal decree phenomenon became a thing. Remember, Darius, his father, was not a legitimate king. He was not descended from Cyrus, and he may have fully participated in offing both of the rightful heirs to the throne to clear the way for himself. He was super insecure about this stuff, but needed to demonstrate, to keep the loyalty of the people, he needed to demonstrate his connection with the previous beloved king, Cyrus the Great, and so Darius was quick to uphold all of the decrees of Cyrus and even etched in stone, once again, literally on a mountain, that decrees are not to be overturned by future kings. They are to be upheld. We see that playing out in the fact that the descendants of the nobles who helped Darius claim the throne are still on this 7-member council that has unlimited access to the king. So this whole irrevocability of the king's command thing, it's a big deal, and it's baked into the stability of the Achaemenid dynasty because of the actions of Darius the Great and how he came to power. So as soon as Memucan breaks out that language right here in verse 19, it is going to set off some ringy-dingy bells for Xerxes, who's like, yeah, royal decree written in stone. And I wonder if between verse 18 and verse 19, where the royal decree comes up, if Xerxes is like, yeah, oh yeah, that's exactly what we need to do, Memucan. Disrespect. Yeah. Discord. That's a good word. Discord everywhere. This is getting out of control. And then Memucan's like, right. So therefore we should do a royal decree. And Xerxes is like, what now? I wouldn't want it to get like bad or anything. I wouldn't want there to be discord, but royal decree, it's a pretty big deal. And you can't undo those once you make them. I mean, do we really need a royal decree, though? What about just like a best practices notice or like a royal suggestion? Maybe we could go with something that's just a little bit reduced, just I don't want to escalate it to that level, but Memucan's already got him nodding along and is like, this is what we had better be doing. And isn't it interesting that the proposed royal decree as it pertains to Vashti has to do with this issue of access, specifically saying that Vashti is never again to enter the presence of King Xerxes. Look, what is crystal clear from this book and all of the extra biblical stuff around it is that access to the king was power, and access to the king was a resource. Access to the king was a commodity, and losing that access to the king, it's calamitous for you and your family. And much like a stock where you maybe issue 100 stocks in your initial hypothetical public offering, well, that's great and all, but if there's not some clause in there about diluting those stocks, then you don't really know the stability. But let's say those stocks are dilutable and only 100 get sold initially, and you're like, I have 49 stocks in this new hypothetical company, but then they dilute the stocks and they issue another 1,900. Well, now you have 49 stocks out of 2,000. It's not such a big deal anymore. Well, every single person who has access to the king that these 7 advisors can eliminate, it is an increase of the value of the stock that they hold in terms of access to the throne, which is power, which is literally the most valuable commodity on earth at this point in history. What we're seeing here is a very clever political assassination and a very clever, very timely maneuver on the part of Memucan to seize on this opportunity to increase his own power at the expense of Vashti and maybe at the expense of women everywhere. We'll see what else Memucan is proposing Xerxes do, and then we'll see what Xerxes' response is to that next time around. Are you feeling the payoff from all the background stuff we did? Because I'm really feeling the payoff. I think it's working. I feel great about that. You don't have to feel the payoff. You don't have to agree with me on it. That's okay too. Either way, glad you're here. I'm Matt. This is a 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.